Welcome back, everybody, to Who Really Won the Wrestling War. We are up to April 1989. Fan Guy felt like this was an interesting month. We've been talking the last few months, but I've been teasing. We've been teasing a third man possibly joining the podcast, like the NWO. So Tiz, or whatever you want to go by. I don't know what you want to go by, but please introduce yourself and say a little bit about your wrestling history, I guess.
Well, for a good long few months, Nick and Fan Guy have been teasing the third man, and I am that third man, brother. I am a guy who loves wrestling probably more than the average person, but not enough to have watched all the episodes we were meant to in time for this podcast. I managed to get in about 4. So yeah, I love wrestling, but not that much. Always been a fan of the heels. Always loved a good bad guy. My favorite of all time is Triple H, but at the same time, I love Bret Hart. So I don't know how much of a bad guy I'm in love with. When you got Bret Hart on your list of favorite wrestlers, he loves to be, better than sweeter than the cookies. But yeah, it's mostly I just love the Attitude Era like everyone else does. I'm not the first person or the last person to say that. Yeah. And it's taken me a while to get into WCW. I actually was late to the whole NWO thing. I only really discovered it like mid 2000s after it was all said and done. And even watching the episodes that we're about to go through with WCW, TNA, all that stuff. Sorry, the NWA. Sorry, not TNA, NWA. Yeah. That's relatively new to me as well. Like I only really got into like the Four Horsemen last year. I was more of an Evolution fan, so I didn't really realize they were based off the Four Horsemen until last year. People like Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson are like I'm just getting into them right now. But I was more of a WWF head when I came up.
Well, you said you're a fan of the Hills. I've actually been teasing you as a foreign Hill to the show because in this day and age, in 1989, if you were foreign to the U.S., you were a Hill. So
yeah.
If you want to be the Hill of the podcast, you could take my place because I've been shitting on modern wrestling every podcast. So.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I could fill in like Jesse Ventura did on these episodes and who, or Michael Hayes in WCW as well. Yeah, but I'll do my best if I can.
Okay.
I'll always give the bad guys the benefit of the doubt. That's for sure.
I feel you. Well, Fan Guy, how did you feel about this month as a whole? For me, it was a bit of a flip.
Yeah, dude, I was just about to say that. Compared to last month, holy hell, both shows got a lot better. Quality of matches it's almost like they have a time machine and they hear us complaining about certain things. Like, holy crap, these guys 40 years from now are going to be like, yeah, and they fixed it. There was a lot of clean finishes, a lot of good matches. I have not that much negative to say about this month, especially comparatively speaking to last month.
I actually do have a huge negative, but I guess we'll get there when we get there. I want to start with WCW, though. So we will start with WCW, who has been losing. They've lost 3 months in a row. I'm not sure if they'll lose this month, in my opinion, anyway. But because I thought they were improved a hell of a lot compared to you weren't here, Tiz, but March was so bad. Me and Van Guy were like, we gave it an average of like a 6. It's bad.
Well, that's pretty high.
Well, I guess that's true. But we were giving WWF like an 8, so it was a huge difference.
Okay. Well, do you know were they losing the ratings at that time or?
Yeah, they were just going through a huge. This is like a few months after Ted Turner bought them, so we're going through a huge transition period.
They're getting smashed in the ratings. Like at this point in time, it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably I guess that must have been obvious because I checked out the attendance for Clash of Champions 6, and that was like I think just over 5,000, whereas Mania 5 got in like just under 19,000 attendance. So yeah.
And speaking of the Clash of Champions, in March, they did not build to it, however. So they had this one episode was April 1st. This was the first time they actually built for this event.
And what a flip from the last Clash. For me, the last Clash was terrible. And this Clash, which got significantly less hype, was better top to bottom.
Well, we know why George Scott got fired as Booker right after this this Clash of Champions. He did not build to this Clash of Champions. Where do you want to start? Or go ahead, Tiz.
No, I mean, I just full disclosure straight up. This was the only WCW tape show that I managed to get in of all the ones we were meant to watch.
It's probably the best one. So
Okay, good. Then I chose well. But I actually got tired of all the squash matches. I mean, I know that was common for TV at the time, but it was I don't know, it got a bit repetitive.
Yeah.
But Clash of Champions I enjoyed.
You hit the nail on the head, brother. Like you really, there wasn't a whole lot after Clash this month, honestly. Only probably one or two significant things happened, in my opinion. And other than that, it really was just more of the same.
Okay.
Where do you want to start on this April 1st show, Fan Guy?
I only have a few things written of any significance here, bro. We got to see Ron Simmons debut, which, Ron Simmons turns out to be a massive star. So it's really cool seeing him get his debut. It looks like he's a face-ish.
Yeah, it was kind of in between, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Throughout the month, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the only two notes I have on this show are Simmons and Sting. Those are the two highlights of the episode for me. Other than that, it was pretty much just more of the same building up for the Clash, like just trying to tell everybody what's about to happen at the Clash.
Yeah, building for the first time. I guess we should talk about the main match was Rotunda versus Sting, and this is the first time Sting has won a championship in WCW. He failed a lot in 87 and 88. I kind of like the slow build with Sting, though. Because, I mean, I know Flair's the face of NWA and WCW, but I feel like in the attitude area was Sting, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I mean, again, I missed that whole era live at the time, but looking back at it in retrospect, I think he kind of benefited from the makeover in the same way that Hogan did.
True.
You got used to Sting as the blonde guy from this, going into the 90s, and then suddenly he becomes the Crow, and that went over like real hot. So,
as someone who lived through both of them, it was so magical to see that transformation. But watching him win this title, this is the beginning of one of the greatest. I mean, this is the beginning of one of the greatest wrestling careers, top 20 guy of all time. So yeah, it's really cool to see him win his first title, man. Like, how cool is that? And then the whole story build up to it with the $10,000. They're not challenging real. Yeah. And now we sneak Sting into the match. So I actually really dug this one.
I did too, and the atmosphere was also great for this.
Yeah, that it was my highest rated match of that evening, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that the crowd had energy compared to the other matches. So I agree with you there. Yeah,
and I believe this was the last time because they used to tape at that place, this TV show all the time, and this was the last time they taped there. So maybe that helped as well, getting a hype crowd.
I tuned in personally for Rotunda because I'm a big fan of IRS, Rotunda, whatever you want to call him. Like, I always loved his mid-air moves. He did one in this match, which was standing mule kick, and just like always like seeing a guy of his size being able to get up in the air and hang like he could is just like I always loved that. So I came in expecting a good match. I wasn't too impressed at the beginning because it was like a lot of rest holds, like for the first like 10 minutes or so, and it really looked like Rotunda didn't even have 10 minutes of match time in him. Like, he looked like he was really stalling for time and energy, but they built into it, and it got better as the match went on.
And I think having the whole, was a Steamboat and who else was it? Luger, yeah. Yeah, they came out and they did, take on the Varsity Club, who was always interfering and ruining everything.
Yeah.
So that was a nice touch.
The Ultimate Face Squad comes out.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They weren't convincing as good friends though, as they kept putting in commentary. It's like I remember when Sting's like celebrating with the title, and Luger's waiting for him to acknowledge him, and Sting just walks off into the crowd, and that's just typical face stuff. These faces are always like strong individuals with big egos. The guy, it takes a unit like the Varsity team to really stick together.
It's true. Nice hill right there, Tiz. Well, we'll move on to the Clash then. We'll go over the matches. There were 3 matches missing from the WWE Network. One was important. The other 2 just saved us time. But we'll start with Midnight Express and the Samoan SWAT team started the show. The build to this was Paul E failed with the original Midnight Express against Cornette's Midnight Express, so he brought in the Samoan SWAT team, and they get a little revenge here. Thoughts on the match?
I love this match. I absolutely loved this match. I liked everything about it. I liked the finish. I love this match, top to bottom. I freaking loved it. I love what they're doing with the Samoan SWAT team. They needed another credible, like, heel, actual sort of tag team, and they found one. These guys are gold. They're perfect with Paulie. And the Midnight Express put on this was just a really good match.
Yeah, I love the Samoan SWAT team as probably the tag team I enjoyed the most out of this month, because I rated them high in the April 1st show, even though that their match was really short in that match. But just the way they work together, like when they start doing two-person beatdowns, like they don't mess about. They just, they put the all into it. And then like this match came along at Clash of Champions, and you see Samu doing like almost like his own version of like standing sweet chin music, and like he's just like, again, like a real, like, for a big guy, real nimble. And I just thought, like, the way that Samoan SWAT team puts like their moves together, they know how to swing the momentum in matches. It helps when a tag team is well oiled, because then they know when to like be down in the match and then come back, and that's what this match was about. It was like real classic tag team chemistry, in that like you didn't really know who was going to win until right at the end. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, for me, I'm still on the high of all these managers being entertaining. Cornette's still no Heenan, but I do like every time he gets involved in these matches, it brings a whole more excitement to the matches.
Yeah, but didn't it kind of like, I don't know, for me it was confusing. I understood why the crowd got behind Midnight Express, because it's Cornette like coming in their corner, but it just like felt like I didn't know who was meant to be like playing like by the rules in this match. Like you just had like Cornette smashing guy in the back with a racket, and the crowd were okay with that. And then like Midnight Express, like they don't even bother to tag; they just go in the ring whenever they like, and the crowd's okay with that as well. So I felt like that was a lot of pressure on Samoan SWAT team, because like you're the crowd's against you. You're meant to somehow be the bad guys as well. I don't know how you pull yourself out of that.
It's funny though, because I feel like on these shows, especially in the WWF, when Ventura's on commentary, about when he calls it out every time the faces are doing something heelish, and then Monsoon has to act like it's not bad. But yeah, these face tag teams do that shit all the time.
It was almost a heel. It's exactly it. It was a heel versus heel situation, because both those managers are heel managers. And I, for one, actually loved it, because we don't see that often. So I actually love seeing 2 of my favorite managers of all time both do dirty things in the same match. I just found that super refreshing and cool.
I guess I was only confused because like I had my expectations set from the day before, where like like Fatu Samu were like they're like really like trying to be like that whole savage angle, where they come to the ring, they're eating pineapples, and they don't give a damn. And then you find that Midnight Express gives even less of a damn, about the rules. So
True.
It was a bit like all over the place for me there, but I did enjoy the match. I rated it highly.
What was next? Muda had a jobber, basically. He's been in all these jobber matches, but any thoughts on this match?
Great Muta.
I love the Great Muda. I mean, nothing's changed for me. They're about to bill him. I think, as we see in some of the later shows, he is about to start a feud with
Junkyard Dog, I think.
Yeah, JYD. I was like, I forget who, but they did introduce someone. He's about to take off, and he blew the mist early. Like, he hit him right at the beginning of the match with it. Normally, he saves that for the grand finale of it, like just straight off top. This was the debut of the mist.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Frank. The gimmick just doesn't work for me. I guess maybe I'm just not a fan of like when like they give someone a long run to like build them up as like almost near invincible. Like I didn't like it when they did with Goldberg. I didn't, you know, I don't. I'm not really a fan of that whole thing. And just even without that, his gimmick just doesn't really work for me. I didn't really understand the whole mist and like constantly putting his fingers in his mouth. Like I just didn't. I don't get it. I don't get what that's about.
Wait, so you're saying you didn't like the Foreign Hill?
No, I really
I'm just
didn't. I
joking.
didn't get it. I really didn't understand it. I didn't understand what that was about. So I hope it's like, well, I know it's going somewhere, but I just hope it's going somewhere that makes sense for me pretty soon.
Yeah, I guess just for the time, I guess maybe it was just so unique that's why it stands out, I guess, at least.
And for me, it's nostalgic. It's the fact that I know the Muda does that for the next 20 years, 15 years. And it's just constantly his spiel. So I think for me, a lot of what I'm enjoying about it is the nostalgia, because it's just like it's like, oh, the first time this guy does something, it's just magical.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Up next was Junkyard Dog and Butch Reed. They just keep Butch Reed never got a push. He came in with a hot debut and then just lost ever since. Okay.
Yeah, I thought they were doing what T just was talking about with the Goldberg build up with Butch Reed at first. They're giving him jobber after jobber to squash. And then anytime he meets any sort of actual resistance, he has folded. So I'd love to say that this one wasn't predictable for me, but when I saw, I'm a raging Cajun, so I love the name of this card and everything. When I saw JYD coming out with the brass Mardi Gras section, I knew where this one was going. There was no way he was going to lose this match.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I can't turn against JYD for the history of it. You know, like I didn't see JYD's whole rivalry with the Freebirds before, like earlier in the decade, but I know all about it, and I just in my book he's a legend. So I couldn't talk bad about him even if I tried. But I did write down the wrong guy won this match because it looked like I forgot what I wrote here. It was I said crowd pleasing finish. That was it. It was just one for the crowd, and I ranked it low because I just felt like that. Like normally, if you have a surprise finish, it's meant to be like some kind of like sense of injustice there, but this wasn't about like they weren't trying to work in any kind of injustice angle. It was just like, well, we're just gonna have a match, and by the end of it, you both agree JYD is gonna win, and that's it. And it just felt like I was wasting my time by the end of it. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like the wrong person won. Just because I feel like that would have been a great move since he's the fan favorite to lose in that match. It would gave Butch Reed the push he was getting at first that he lost when he lost to Sting.
JYD's hitting that part in his career at this point of his career where it's important to start putting the younger guys over. And Butch Reed, granted, isn't that much younger, but he has more career in front of him at this point than JYD does. Yeah. So at this point, I feel like it's more responsible of some of the veterans to like start giving a little.
Yeah, that's where I was on a similar wavelength. I was thinking, okay, like if Reed's gonna lose and get put over, then there should be a feeling of like injustice. Like it should feel like the wrong guy won. But when you're watching the match itself, everyone's like really happy about the match, and that's it. Case closed. Like the story isn't actually going anywhere for Reed. So
nope, I agree. Oh, well, here's the matches we missed. Well, I'll just talk about them real quick. Apparently, we missed the Iron Sheik and that, what's his name? Ranger Ross. It wasn't much of a match, I guess. Ranger Ross just got attacked by Hills. And then one of the other matches was old ass Bob Orton versus old ass Dick Murdoch. They saved us some time with that one. But the big one that they didn't have, they edited out of the WWE Network, was the Road Warriors losing their titles to the Varsity Club. I feel like that's something big to add out.
A title change is usually a pretty big deal that you don't leave off.
Especially the Road Warriors are always built up. So,
weren't the Varsity Club up next in the match on?
Yeah, it was somebody. It was, let's see, who was in that match?
I didn't even write it down. It was unspectacular.
Gilbert and Steiner beat the Varsity Club.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find out who won the titles. I think it was Spivey and what's his name? Sullivan. Okay. They beat Road Warriors.
I actually think it was the other two.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was. It was Williams and Rotunda.
Until the 15th. I didn't even know this match happened until I got to the 15th.
Yeah, me either.
I was like, when did the Road Warriors lose their titles to Dr. Death and Mike Rotunda? Like, what is this? So yeah, it's kind of weird that they didn't even mention it on the show after this either.
Yeah, that was weird all around because that was something big to miss. But anyway, the next match was, I guess, and it was Spivey and Sullivan versus Gilbert and Rick Steiner.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, I didn't pay attention to this match. But
It was a nothing match.
Yeah,
I don't like that they're calling them the First Family. Like, what? Like, I get that the Steiners are kind of a legacy name, but Mike Rotundo's family is more of a first family than Gilbert or Steiner. So I'm not a fan of that spiel.
Well, they gave you a tag team name, though. I know how you feel about two singles superstars.
They gave me a shitty tag team name, the First Family. You guys aren't family. You aren't first. Like, what are you doing? This name makes no sense. But yes, thank you. They did try, Nick. They did try to make them a team and not just two single superstars.
Yes.
Face is always screwing up unity.
Touche. Well, the main event was the big one. 2 out of 3 falls. Flair and Steamboat. Another classic by these two, I guess. I don't know how I feel which match I like better so far, to be honest. But where do you want to start? Should we go fall by fall? I mean, I feel like just every fall had different kind of action, but it was all action the whole match.
I preferred the segment with like between the first and the second fall by far. But I'm saying that as someone who often doesn't like 60-minute matches or Iron Man matches. So
yeah,
and I go into them expecting not to like them. I guess that's why I was nicely surprised by this one. Of all the matches I saw, this was the highest rated one on my book. Probably inevitable because it's Steamboat and Flair.
Yeah.
But the midsection of this match was my favorite.
I agree.
These guys had more energy than I was expecting throughout the match, because I was expecting a lot more of kind of what you were talking about earlier with one of the matches where it started the Sting match, where it started with just a bunch of locks and holds, a lot of rest periods. I was expecting to see more of that. We got so much action in this match, so many chops. Like, these guys were stiff with their shots too.
Yeah, they were
not chilling with their shots. I was okay. I was okay with this match front to back. I was actually okay with each fall. I wasn't crazy about Flair submitting for the second fall.
I like that. I actually like that one. Yeah.
It was unpredictable. Whenever it happened, I was like, did he just submit? Like, what?
Yeah,
so
I kind of liked it because they mentioned how he was in a plane crash and then Steamboat was working the back. Yeah.
I guess a lot of it is because I've never actually seen a double chicken wing hold before. Like when I was watching wrestling, it was never popular, so no one ever did it. So to see someone actually use it as a to win a fall, I've never seen it before, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about this championship run by Steamboat, because I mean, he's not the best on the mic. I get it. So I feel like you should. I don't know. I guess I just have a problem with Flair winning the first fall for some reason. That's bothering me for some reason.
What bothers you about it?
I don't know. I just feel like I get it. It's Flair, and he's been this champion for so long, and then he gets screwed at the end. But like, Flair's the heel, so I don't know. It's like babying Flair. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I guess given the finish, they had it in mind to stretch this out even longer, like beyond Clash of Champions. So it probably had to go that way. I don't disagree with you, but I think they just had something different in mind where they thought, okay, this is just going to be one of a even longer program. I remember reading that Flair only stayed in WCW because they agreed to do a long program with Steamboat. So it's really down to those two really getting along as best mates for this. Really.
I'm on the opposite. I love the finish. I think for exactly that reason, I think it was a very logical finish to the match if you're going to be doing a half a year program with these two guys. It adds a different dynamic that isn't, good guy gets screwed over. It was like, the cockiest bad guy just got screwed over. You got Steamboat admitting it, so they're kind of, obviously they're going to talk about running it back. So I was super okay with this finish. I was surprised I didn't remember it from when it actually originally happened, but I was very okay with this finish. And I think they had to let Steamboat retain. You got to give him a little bit of a run. I think it would have just been too quick to give right back, even if he is 100 times better.
It's not so much the finish that I have a problem with. I guess it's just that I felt like Steamboat was behind the whole match and then couldn't win really fair, I guess.
Ric Flair, baby. Ric Flair.
yes, I know.
No, you could tell Steamboat's not that great on the mic, like you were saying, because like, even at the end after the match when he's like working that whole okay, I see Flair was done wrong angle. He doesn't actually outright say it. He's just like, if I was in his shoes, I'd get my lawyers on the phone and I'd make a complaint, something like that. It's just there's nothing really like there's no fire behind that whatsoever, So yeah, but he was in great shape the whole match. I loved watching him wrestle. Literally the only con I could find for this match was I felt Terry Funk was the wrong choice of color commentator. I get that they were doing the whole it's a Night of Champions angle and Funk is a multiple time champion, but it didn't add anything to the match for me. He not a good commentator, and I missed Michael Hayes. I think Michael Hayes and Jim Ross is a much better duo than WWF's Monsoon Ventura at the time. So.
Yeah, and I do think that Funk's there for a reason. I'm pretty sure there's a storyline coming with Funk, but yeah, I agree that his commentating it wasn't great for the match.
Hayes was a big step up for Magnum TA.
That's for sure.
Yo, Hayes is solid. Hayes is really solid on commentary. Like
his dynamic with Jim Ross is the kind I love, because like they give each other crap, but it's not disrespectful crap. Like when it comes time to like big up the show and promote the legacy of wrestling, they both get on the same page. Like you see the Hayes going like, yeah, it happened right here in Louisiana, and like they both show that they're into the sport, but then they clash as face heel commentators. So I like that. Whereas Ventura Monsoon is more like just like put downs and that's it. So
yeah, I prefer Heenan and Monsoon personally. Any other thoughts on this match?
You guys said it all for me. You guys literally fan guys said what the first thing I wrote, which was relatively non-stop action with a few rest spots for 60-minute match. So I couldn't put either of these guys down. It was a hell of an effort, and my highest rated match of the month.
I agree. Even though I had my complaints with the booking, I still thought it was a great match, of course, and I think it was my number one as well. Well, let's go through some of these other shows. I know you didn't watch it, Tiz, so we'll just go through some of these important things. I already mentioned how George Scott was fired soon after this, and Jim Ross is heading up the booking committee, so he's the booker now. And I feel the change. I feel like things matter more, Panka.
100%. We didn't get nearly as many squash matches as we've been seeing constantly the last 3 months that make this show utterly unwatchable at times.
And 20 different masked men.
Yeah, Russian Assassin 7 taking on, like, what? How many Russian assassins are there? Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, very few squash matches or a significant drop-off. We're seeing a lot of mid-card guys going against each other where you can't call who's going to win. That alone makes it watchable for me, where before it was borderline unwatchable. So yeah, you can tell that the booking's changed a lot, and you're starting to see a couple of future really legends, even show up as enhancement talent, like Shane Douglas started showing up this month, and I like seeing stuff like that. These guys are just classics.
Does this start off another period of George Scott going up north to WWF to piss off Bret Hart because he hated him?
I have no idea where George Scott went after this.
Oh, okay.
I didn't read that far. I just read that he was fired after 2.5 months or 3 months or whatever. Let's talk a little about the Luger and Hayes feud, just because I've been enjoying it. We enjoy Hayes on commentary, but I also enjoy this. Just him as a heel, personally.
It's a one-sided feud right now because we're not hearing a ton from Luger about it, but Hayes is carrying it himself. Hayes is carrying it himself, even when he's not in the ring, and he's just kind of subtly mentioning it on commentary. You know, and I think they cut out the Luger versus Victory match at Clash too, and they showed it on the.
Well, their whole what they were doing, which was I guess was smart. They were saying that if the Flair Steamboat match ends, we'll get to a Luger match or the Sting match. That's was their.
I mean, big surprise. Is Secret Service Jack Victory going to beat Lex Luger for the title? Probably
No.
not. I'm just going to go on a limb there. So
that was the one gimmick that did not work for me whatsoever. I just the Secret Service thing just did nothing for me. Big zero.
And he was dressed like a UPS driver.
What is he? And he's meant to be like he's built up. I remember on April 1st, like as Paulie built him up as like a guy who can do like dirty moves or something, and he lumbers to the ring. He's just like he looks like just like a power guy. It doesn't look like anything to do with like espionage. So why?
I agree. But I will. No, it's not him. Never mind. It's the other guy, Randy Rhodes, who we've seen again who was nothing when he was in the original Midnight Express. I did like some of his matches he had. I mean, I'm just saying for what they were, I just felt like
I'm glad they're keeping Paulie involved and they're letting that feud at least have a final, like a because it kind of just got dropped off before.
I guess I only liked it because when they were teaming up in that one match at I just didn't like it. The last was it? I don't even remember when it was, but whenever it was, I thought he improved a lot since we saw him last anyway. What other big things happened?
The only other thing I have on that show was Orton and Murdoch. They showed that match from Clash that they didn't show.
Oh, I must have
fast forwarded it. Was Gary Hart interference. But Orton's getting a ton of airtime this month.
Have you noticed that they always call him something different too?
Yeah.
Bob Orton Sr., Cowboy Bob Orton, the next day he's just Bob Orton.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something else I want to talk about. My notes are so messy. Oh, it was a Cornette promo regarding the Midnight Express. I guess they almost quit the company because they didn't like what was happening with their storyline. So Cornette's promo, I guess, was a bit of a shoot, as they would say, about how I don't know how they weren't happy with their wrestling lately, and they're going to turn it around or something.
I mean, they really only lost one match. So, I mean, it seems like a little bit of a jump to go straight to that promo. You lose one match. You're one of the greatest tag teams of the era. Like, retiring just seems a little, I don't know. It's a far-fetched storyline for me. But, yeah, he talked about how Bobby Eaton's been injured and, just no respect.
All the excuses.
Yeah. I mean, it's classic Jim Cornette's what it was. I mean, the dude's just gold on the mic. He could fart into a trombone. It would sound good.
How much do you guys like Midnight Express? Because I've only seen literally one match from them, and it hasn't like really dawned on me how they have this reputation yet. And I'm not saying they're a bad team. I haven't seen enough of them. So how much is really behind it?
I just feel like in this period that we're in 1989, they're a little past their prime. Do I want to say that? I don't know. It feels like they are.
Okay. They are. I mean, this is the second incarnation of the Midnight Express, and the first one just got too old and lost to them. So, I mean, look, beautiful Bobby Eaton. He goes on to have a pretty good career. I think he crosses over to WWF and has some success over there eventually. But no, I think you're dead on. Their legacy of the Midnight Express is more of the really when NWA was NWA, they were like the team. So it was a very regional thing here in the States to just one part of the United States, the like Southwest area. And in that area, they were legends. But to the rest of everyone else, take it or leave it. But I think that's where a lot of their clout comes from, is because WCW is directly, it's the NWA. So they just have a lot of history in that particular organization.
Okay, that makes sense to me because the Louisiana crowd got behind them at Clash, and I just remember Cornette like writing about them like they were like true legends, like unquestionable legends. So I had all this build up in the back, and then I see them wrestle, and this being the new Midnight Express, and it just hasn't really dawned on me yet. Like I can't fit one and make two yet so far. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just regional sweethearts more than anything else. Yeah.
The other big thing was that we talked about a little bit, but Flair and his lawyer getting the rematch with Steamboat. That will be at the next pay-per-view. Third time's a charm. Is it, Fan Guy? I think it is.
I think the title's better on Flair. I think he needs the title more for what he tries for his whole thing than Steamboat. I know this program goes on for a while, so I wouldn't be surprised if it switches hands several times back and forth between these two.
One other thing I did like was the Teddy Long, the referee. He was being a heel this month, counting fast, and he got fired at the end of the month. But I enjoyed his being a heel. I believe he's about to be a manager.
Teddy Long looks sick.
Ron Simmons.
Compared to how he filled out later on, he looks sick and I don't know, like he's lost weight to me.
He does look well.
Yeah, compared to the Teddy Long I'm used to.
I mean, that's why the Legion of Doom lost their titles, was because of the Teddy Long fast count. That's how Ron Simmons ends up beating Junkyard Dog at the end of the month, is through a Teddy Long fast count. So I love this. This is
I just like it when everything has at least a meaning to it and goes somewhere.
So I think Teddy's probably going to manage Simmons next, is my guess.
I had to get used to seeing a young Nick Patrick who almost has no character whatsoever compared to what he becomes later on.
Yeah. I was thinking about Nick Patrick too. Whenever you say when you say that, because I was like, "Dang, he went on to have a ref angle too."
Yep. Anything else? I mean, I enjoyed WCW this month. This is the first time I could say that I actually really enjoyed WCW from the first 4 months of this year.
Yeah, Tonga debuted a little later on in the month. That's about all I have written. And Tonga was in that movie with Piper, Body Slam. So seeing him actually get into the ring as a wrestler was cool.
I mean, I guess there was a feud with Murdoch too, but who really cares?
It's the Murdoch-Orton feud. Yeah. That's just two guys in the twilight of their careers holding on for that one last.
I guess my big takeaway from WCW was that they finally didn't have a bunch of squash matches when Jim Ross took over and stuff started meaning something. And we got actual main events because we had the both tag team champions, the U.S. tag team champions, the NWA tag team champions, even though it ended in Road Warriors interfering. But well, let's give grades, I guess. Tiz, since it's your first time, you could go first. What grade did you give WCW?
For the month?
Yes.
I graded every match. I didn't grade overall, but I guess to answer you in a roundabout way, I gave their main event, the pay-per-view main event, the highest grade of the whole month, which is 8.5. I didn't really have any matches that fell below 5, so I guess overall they got a 7.5 for me and a 7 as well for 2 tag matches. Actually, sorry, there was one. Yeah, they got the worst match of the month for me, which was Jack Victory against Don Santos. That was a 2. So yeah, I guess overall, if I'm quickly averaging out in my head, it's about 6.5 for them. Which you guys are saying.
What we've been giving WCW.
Yeah,
but it's your first time.
You guys are saying that's low, right? Apparently, or compared.
Well, yeah.
The first show I was with you, I started really low, and I was like, I'll try to be a little nicer because it's not gonna get better for a while.
If you would have watched March, if you gave it this a 6.5, if you would have watched March, I think you would have given it like a 2.
Okay.
It was that much of an improvement, bro. Really.
Okay.
Night and day.
I came at the right time.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I gave it an 8, actually. I flipped it with the WWF for the month before.
I'm right with you. I give it an 8.1.
Let's see what that averages out to. 7.5. That is definitely the highest rated month for WCW so far. But can it finally beat the WWF? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, on the WWF side, I can only weigh in on Mania. That's the only one I saw. I didn't see any of the primetime shows.
This was a bad month for prime time. So once again, you're
Yeah.
it's like the only thing, in my opinion, the only thing worth watching on WWF this month was Mania.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know if Mania was worth watching, to be honest, but we'll get to it.
That's how I felt, honestly, by the end of it.
Yeah.
I think Crash was the better one on the day.
It was, surprisingly. Well, we'll just start with the first match of WrestleMania 5 from the redacted plaza, Atlantic City, from Trump Plaza. And I actually think that was what hurt the show so much to me. I feel like it was a bunch of gamblers and businessmen, and the crowd was dead the entire time.
Well, what about the opening of the Rock and Robin, the national anthem?
Oh God, that was rough too.
Not good.
That's the women's division in that age for you.
We'll let her wrestle. We're just gonna let her sing really bad,
right?
Yeah. Not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, I guess we should have known by how it started how the rest of this event was going to go. But it starts with Haku and Hercules. There was no real build to this, was there, Pange?
No, there wasn't. I mean, the closest thing to it is just Heenan always calling Hercules the slave and how he sold him to the $1 Million Man or whatever, but other than that, I mean, it's just one of Brain's boys against Hercules is what it comes down to. The actual dynamic between these two guys, not crazy about. And I wasn't crazy. I'm with you guys from the last card where I don't think the right guy won here.
Okay.
I would agree, yeah, because I mean, they've been pushing Haku.
Who did win?
Hercules, yeah.
Clean win too, with a back suplex.
Yeah, it felt more like this. They left this match with Hercules like having more to say against Heenan than actually really caring about Haku. So, like you said, there's no real dynamic there. But that being said, I did actually give this match a high rating at the time. I think because I was influenced by the pace of Clash. Whereas then you tune into WWF and like immediately you can see like the guys are juiced up, like the size is just different completely, and they hold the pace of the match better. So like even the entry card match, like the pace is faster. So I think that kind of influenced my rating a little bit for this match, and also the crowd was just, obviously you got a 80,000 plus crowd. It's just better energy.
Wow, for now.
Oh yeah, true. For now, yeah. Those are the only two pros I came up with this match. Whereas in terms of like moves or holds or anything like that, I didn't remember anything from this match. So
yeah, I don't know. It was another slow start for me. From the national anthem to that, it was a rough beginning. And then I have a problem with the next match because I've been complaining about how it should have been the Rockers against Tully and Arn, but it would get them against the Twin Towers, which is just basically a glorified squash match for the Twin Towers.
And I don't think the right team won there either. If you're building a program for the Rockers and the Brainbusters, then quite frankly, both of those teams should have won on this card so that they both have momentum going into their big rivalry that's about to happen. You don't let the Rockers, I mean, I get it, it's the Twin Towers, but you just don't let them lose this match whenever you're trying to build them up as a credible team to take on the Brainbusters. So the match itself for me was fine, but I really didn't like the finish to this match.
I just enjoyed the way Michael sold the moves. Like, I mean, that's what he's made a career off of. But it, I like the fact that he really made it look like it hurt.
Yeah, there was one clothesline that way. It looked like he died.
Yeah, seriously. So if you're gonna lose. Yeah, if we're gonna lose, convince me that you really had to lose, and he did.
It's funny you say that. A lot of people don't realize like Michael's made a career because he's a good seller. Like he really and he really got to show that here. Could not agree more with that.
I really don't have much to say because I've already thought this shouldn't have been a match in the first place. So next was $1 Million Man and Beefcake, another match with no build on WrestleMania.
It was a terrible match. Really bad match. You know, they even said in this match, and this is how I felt about DiBiase his whole career that I've been watching him. I like him because I mean, just like I said, I love heels, and he's got the best laugh in the business, and his promos are amazing. His mic skills are amazing, but I've always felt like the actual in-ring action doesn't live up to all the stuff outside the ring. They said he's the thinkers wrestler in this match, and I still don't even see that. Like normally that's an excuse to be elaborate with your moves and like do like a lot of mat work and all that stuff. But I just don't see it. Like I don't see DiBiase ever really go like far down any particular lane. He's like kind of like he gravitates between like power wrestling and technique but never really goes like too in depth on any category. And this was just I didn't like this match. But it's how I feel about all DiBiase matches. I don't know why. It pains me to say that because I really like DiBiase.
It's true though.
It doesn't help when you have him in the ring with Beefcake, who's also not a good wrestler. Like he basically, like Beefcake can't carry a match. I agree with your assessment completely. I wasn't crazy about the finish. I would have liked to see one of these guys win. I think you either let Beefcake win to carry on some momentum to his Savage feud that's upcoming.
Yeah.
Or you let DiBiase win because the dude just made the $1 million belt and fucking he's just the man. So you're letting Beefcake lose to much lesser guys. Let him take a loss. Let him get dollars stuffed in his mouth.
Yeah, the double count out was pretty dumb. I guess the only positive I just like that, I guess as a heel, and how he didn't even win his belt. He just bought his belt, and he doesn't even want to defend the belt. I do kind of like that storyline.
I do. I really love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Nobody else is worthy of that belt.
Up next, the hits just keep on coming. It's the Bushwhackers and the Roju brothers. Another dud.
That full mouth promo killed me. I don't know if you saw the promo where they were just eating and you couldn't.
Eating.
They do that all the time.
They're already you can't understand them as it is, and I get that's what they were going for, but I was not a fan of that promo, even less than I am of most Bushwhacker promos.
Yeah, this is a dated gimmick for me. I mean, I guess they should have stuck to doing foreign heels because when they try and do foreign faces, it's just terrible. Like you go like, oh, they're from New Zealand, so they have to do this all day. It's just it doesn't work. That should stay in '89 and never come back.
Yeah, I agree completely. Can't stand the Bushwhackers.
And they took on the foreign heels in the Rougeau brothers, the All-American boys.
So after that rough start, we at least get Perfect versus the Blue Blazer. Perfect debuts his singlet for the first time.
I expected to like this match, and I didn't. I actually read up on what Bret Hart had to say about it afterwards because that's one of my favorite books of all time. If I ever mention him too much in this blog, podcast, it's not because I'm marking out for Bret Hart. It's just I love his book more than anything. But he said they only gave Owen 8 minutes on this match, so that evidently they weren't going in there expecting to really do much other than turn up at Mania and consider that a privilege, and that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's basically what we got.
Yeah.
For me, this match was all nostalgia for me. It had very little to do with the actual content of the match or anything. It was just Owen Hart versus Kurt Hennig. How cool. So I think for me, the only redeeming quality, I'm with you guys, the only redeeming quality of this match was it was two legends before they were legends going at.
I probably went in with too big of expectations because it's two great technicians. I did like the crucifix move from Owen because I've never seen that before. It might have been popular at the time, I don't know, but I never saw that before. But I've never been convinced by the perfect plex as a finisher. Not for me. Not even by 80 standards where you didn't really have a lot of power moves at the time.
I mean, for me, compared to the leg drop, I'll take it any day.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean by 80 standards. Like that's.
God. God. Next we have just randomness. We have Ventura posing, talking about Hollywood. I think that's the set of Hogan's Hollywood movie. Then we get Run DMC. Any comments on these?
I love Run DMC, so I was okay with this.
The sound quality.
Oh,
though,
no,
was
it was
not
bad.
great, unfortunately. Yeah.
I love Run DMC, so like the last match we just talked about, I expected to really love their feature, but maybe I had too high hopes. It was middle of the road for me.
Yeah, and by this point, I started taking notes on the crowd and how much I couldn't stand the crowd because they were just so dead. Which I mean, maybe I can't blame them because the card isn't great at first, but like also, I don't know.
I think it's the nature of Mania though as well. Like, I mean, you said that the opening set the tone for the match, and it's true because
True.
like with Clash, you just had wrestling, 2 hours of wrestling, and that's it. And I enjoy that. Whereas this was like 3 hours, 40 minutes of like a lot of like wrestling broken up with a lot of like celebrity features, like spots, like Jesse Ventura getting up and getting his like spot with the crowd. Donald Trump ringside, like a lot of grits and glamour, which we know that's what Mania is about, and that's really what pushed wrestling into the mainstream. So I suppose we should in some ways be grateful for that, but it's just that you got to sit down and you got to put up with a lot of fluff, you know.
I like it when it's done right, but when it's just fluff and it's just randomness, like Ventura just wasting time. Yeah, can't get behind it.
Have it move a story forward or something. Like you can do that. Have fluff, and it still moves the story along.
Yeah.
Up next, Demolition, Powers of Pain, WWF title. Fuji's also in the match with Powers of Pain. At least this was built up. This is like the first match that was properly built up, I guess. But that's about all I have to say because the match was still.
I don't have a lot good to say about this, considering I don't have a lot good to say about this match.
Me neither. I didn't know there was a build up to this match because I wrote down it feels like a filler match. It feels like fluff when I watched it. And there were sloppy moves. I can't remember from which side. I think mostly from Powers of Pain, but they were just like they weren't really like. I wouldn't go as far as saying they botched their moves, but it's just sloppy all around. It wasn't really convincing. Like there was nothing snug about what they were doing, and really I felt like the only payoff of the match was like if there was any part of the build up where people were getting pissed off at Mr. Fuji, then they got to get him see his ass beat. But that's the only payoff of this match for me.
I agree.
And that was almost a payoff we knew was coming too, which almost takes a little of the polish off it. Whenever you introduce him as the third man, it's like, oh, I can see where this is going. And so even the polish that was there, that like it just kind of.
Again, that's like a Mania moment where you know what's going to happen, and they feed it to you with popcorn, and that's it. And it's like, okay, I guess I like the taste because I'm supposed to.
Yeah, honestly, this WrestleMania reminded me of more modern WrestleManias where I watch, where they have all these matches at the start with people I don't give a shit about. It's like fucking Dolph Ziggler versus whoever. That's what it felt like to me.
I haven't seen the Mania in a long time, in many years. So
you're lucky. God, I can't read my notes. What was next? Dino Bravo and Ronnie Garvin. God. Not getting better.
I skipped this match.
Well, nobody cared anyway, so it was.
Dino won clean for all you watching out there. Dino wins clean. God suplex.
Next, at least we had an angle that you've been talking about this next match, fan guy. Brainbusters and
Strike Force. Yeah, I knew this was Martel. Yes. This goes into the Rick becoming the model. He is about to become the model. He's about to start getting his aerosol can and hitting people in the face, which is my favorite version of Rick Martel. So
me too.
I was excited about this match because I had a feeling, as I said last, I think that's coming. I think it's about to happen. And when they made this match, I was like, it's going to happen. I didn't remember how it happened with Tito hitting him with the forearm. And then he's just like, oh, I'm going to stand on the apron for 5 minutes. And then when you're like, I'm out. So I actually really like this match up to this point on the card. This was my favorite match, and it could have just been because that was part of it.
Yeah, I agree, because it actually went somewhere compared to everything else.
Yeah, that was like literally the only note I had down for that match, and I gave it an above average rating, and it's just because I saw Rick Martel become the guy that I know and love him for, like in front of my very eyes. So I guess it's just pure bias in that sense. I love that. Yeah.
It's hard to leave nostalgia and like out of this sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I'm like, I love the guy. I can't rate him.
Yeah.
Brainbusters win though, continue their main push for in the tag team division.
Not against the Rockers now.
Yeah, I know.
Can I ask you guys though, what do you guys think of them packaging them as Brainbusters when they get to WWF? I don't get that name. Like you have Anderson and Blanchard.
I think it's because it's Heenan, really.
Yeah, I get that.
Bobby the Brain Heenan, but I don't know.
I don't think that's using them to their potential. I mean, they're bigger than that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I guess Vince didn't have much faith in them to, have their own personality, even though Arn does. I don't know about Tully. I could take or leave Tully, to be honest.
I think they got bags of personality in the ring. I agree with you outside, like Blanchard's not really known for anything, but in the ring, they're good enough as it is. I don't even think they needed a manager at that time. But just the name itself, like I didn't know, like this was my first time being introduced to their run in WWF. And when they came out as the Brainbusters, before I saw their faces, I was like, I'm gonna skip this match. And then I noticed like, oh, it's Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. So I watched it, and yeah, but I don't know if I was the only one that felt like that name is just not good.
I wouldn't argue with your point on that. I don't think it's the great name, especially when you got two guys who were part of the Four Horsemen, which was literally carrying WCW for the entire period before they came to the WWF. You figured they would trust them a little more. And they just had a huge run.
Is it better than Gilbert and Rick Steiner's name, though, Fan Guy?
Yeah, it's much better than the First Family, who's not first or a family.
Next was Piper's Pit with Brother Love and Morton Downey Jr. It was more fluff, basically, that leads to nothing.
It drug on for me, man.
Yeah, it was long.
This one drug on for me. I like what they did. It was entertaining, but it drug on. It was.
I fast forwarded past it.
Yeah, exactly.
I did too, honestly. By this point in the show, I was so over WrestleMania. Andre and Jake, they had a great build, but this match was not the great payoff, I don't think.
I want to say, though, before that match, Hogan had a great promo, I think. Like, I mean, it's Hogan, so you expect a certain standard, but up until that point, I've been watching guys' promos, and Hogan is like a step or two above everyone else in terms of what he did there. So I just have to give him praise for that. I know it's not popular to give praise to Hogan, but still.
It pained me to do it last month. We got a good no holds barred preview for his movie too, right?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Andre and Drake? I mean, I don't know.
It was a bad match. They didn't for two names that I know so well, they had no chemistry.
Yeah, they didn't. Which sucks because I enjoyed the build a lot. It was one of my favorite builds of the first 3 months. I mean, so far, WWF, well, when they want to build and they're not putting random teams together like the Rockers and the Twin Towers, they do a good job of building these matches. But the payoffs of most of these have not been the best.
And I do think with this match, it was weird because they had, like, this was one of my favorite feuds of last month was this build up to this match. And I think it's just going to stop here. I think this is all we're going to get of it. And now they're going to move on to Andre and Stud and DiBiase and Snake. So, I mean, I get what they did with the finish of the match because they're trying to segue into their next feuds. But I feel like we got robbed on this feud itself for the build up they had to it. This was just a huge letdown.
I'm not surprised that they did move on because when I saw it, I was like, this is Andre and this is Jake the Snake. Like, this should be better than this. But they surprisingly just had no chemistry between two really good names. So maybe they just found that out like the week before and they thought, you know what, let's just quit while we're behind.
Let's just move on from this as quickly as possible.
It also doesn't help that Andre's like getting up there in age and health problems as well. I think that might play a part.
Sure.
Next was the Hart Foundation versus Honky Tonk Man and Chris Jericho. I mean, Greg the Hammer Valentine. Any thoughts on this match?
It was okay. It was a strange finish to be given I don't know if the Hart Foundation was still heels at this point or not. You guys know better than me.
They weren't. That's
They
why
weren't.
this finish was.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
It was strange, yeah. It's strange for Brett to be okay, so just hit him with it like that. But it was okay. Like I didn't have any grievances with it. It was a good flow, like classic tag team flow where you got like the first segment is like Brett down and you want to like can he like stay in the match and then he gets a second wind and I was okay with that. It was okay for me.
Yeah. I didn't write any notes on this match. So.
Nick's
I
not
was so over it by this point in the show, honestly.
Well, Brett agrees with you because I checked his book for it and he said my match went fine, and that's literally all he had to say. He had more to say about Randy Savage and Ultimate Warrior in the main event than he had his own match. So
Oh, interesting. What do you say about them?
he said, I respect Randy so much more than Ultimate Warrior. And I guess you can figure out why, because Ultimate Warrior is just like a power guy who just, throws people about the ring and probably injured a lot of people in his career, given the match he has later on. And Brett's not a fan of that. So,
Well, Warrior and Rude was next. They've been giving Rick Rude like the best hill build so far. He's been beating at names and not just jobbers or getting into double countouts.
Oh, y'all can't see that.
Is that Chris Jericho?
No, it's great. It's like 60-year-old Greg Valentine sitting next to Brutus Beefcake, 60 years old, and it says, "I'll be your beefcake if you're my Valentine." And I just got the biggest kick out of that. So I just share that with you.
Well, this is the thing we were talking about last month, Van Guy, that we thought this might be coming where Heenan cost Warrior the title, and it was.
I was a huge Warrior fan at this time. Like, I loved Ultimate Warrior. I was probably, I was like 6 or 7 years old at this time. And he was my favorite wrestler. So I remember this match when it happened because I never thought in a billion years he would lose. And I remember at the time, like now I'm like in love with Bobby the Brain. But at the time, I hated him for this. I was like, you cost Ultimate Warrior the match against Rick Rude. This is not right. I'm a 7-year-old crying over this match. It was a devastating moment in my childhood, but yes, I think it was good. I think it was necessary.
It was.
And I love Rick Rude. Rick Rude's one of my favorite wrestlers of this period now, like watching it back.
He's the one doing his gimmick the best. Well, one of them.
Yeah. I'm gonna go against you guys because I rated this match low. I just felt like there were too many rest spots, way too many throughout the whole match, and probably Warrior's doing because normally he likes that stuff, but it was just like one rest hold after another. But what saved it for me were Rick Rude's tights. I love those by far.
Yeah, I agree though. I don't think the match itself was like anything special.
I agree with that assessment.
But the finish definitely. There was the finish.
I just like the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime Heenan could do something entertaining is fine by me. So
I'm just saying. And if you notice, most Warriors matches are only like 5 minutes long to begin with.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is why he's full of squash matches.
God. Next up, Duggan and Bad News Brown, which was a nothing double DQ.
Yeah.
I mean, they already buried. They buried Bad News when he lost to Hogan at Saturday main event anyway. So.
Yeah, they did, bro. Undefeated, and now he can't beat Duggan.
Right.
He's undefeated till Hogan says, I'll take this match out of nowhere and kill all this guy's momentum for no reason. No reason other than to stop all his momentum. And now the dude can't get a win over Duggan. Thanks, Hogan. This is why you're hating.
That Hogan shovel. I don't know if it's as big as Triple H's tis, but it's up there.
Woo.
I love Triple H's shovel.
I know. Next up was my feud of January, the Red Rooster and Bobby Heenan. I mean, it was what it was. Yes, it was an entertaining feud in January. Thanks to Heenan.
Just a random squash match put there.
I mean, it was just Heenan getting his comeuppance finally.
Yeah.
In his Andre the Giant get up, which his wrestling attire amused me.
And finally, the main event, Hogan and Savage, and Elizabeth in no corner, allegedly in no corner.
What I liked about that talking about Elizabeth is that just when you felt like Elizabeth is getting way too much in the way of the match and it's probably going to like drag it down if she stays out there, Hebner ejects her right the moment. Like literally, I had that thought in my head. Like I hope Elizabeth just like pisses off somewhere, and Hebner fulfilled my wish. So I felt like they had a good hold or like a good instinct of the match.
Yeah.
And that's important for a main event. So I actually ranked this match pretty high comparative, not as high as the Clash main event, but I thought, I actually came into this match expecting not to like it because it's Hogan and Savage, but for what it was, it exceeded my expectations. Although the ending, I mean, we all know the wrong guy won, and I'm not saying that just because it's Hogan.
It's true.
No, that's a fact. Yeah, this was my favorite match on the card, and I could not echo my new friend's sentiments any better. That it pains me to say that, but that I think it's not as much a testament to this match as it is a testament to how not good this Mania was.
Yeah.
I was very okay with this match. The only note I have written on this match is that hulking out is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
Savage just hits the elbow. And Hogan just pops the fuck up. No, sir.
It makes him look so stupid. It makes everything before that moment look pointless. I just
not a fan of hulking out.
Several more years of that. So yeah, like Frank guy just said a moment ago, Hogan. There's a reason why people just don't like your career, and it's moments like that. Savage came into this match in great shape. I don't normally see big guys like that be so nimble. He must have been doing yoga to get ready for this match, but it all counted for nothing because he hit an elbow off the top rope, and guess what? The guy just gets up and wins the game.
Especially when it's Hogan and like Savage. I actually went back whenever I saw how he won the title because it was a 4 matches in one night tournament the year before. I actually went back and watched that. Savage is really good in the ring. He's really good. His gas tank is there. That man is a brilliant performer, and Hogan is not. And so like something like this one irked me on every level. Like,
yeah, I feel like it doesn't get talked about how Savage is a good in-ring performer.
Really good.
Because I always give his character a lot of credit.
I would be one of those guys that wouldn't be talking about, like, I'd normally be downplaying it because I haven't watched as many Savage matches as I probably should have, given that I know who he is and I've known him since I was a kid. But he's just, for me, he was always just there in the background for me. Like I never really, like there's nothing really like pulling me towards him. But then after I got more into wrestling, like with fresh eyes and looking back, and I'm looking at this match and I'm thinking like, damn, he's in great shape. Like when you're expected to be like the leader of the locker room as a champion, he looks like a worthy WWF champion this night. And he built the momentum nice. He put in the right work to get as much heat as he could, doing the whole using Miss Elizabeth as like a human shield and all that stuff. Like he did all the right moves at the beginning of the match to really make it so that it was like the strong dynamic of bad versus good, or a guy who's jealous versus a guy who's just the leading man of the team. But unfortunately, you just knew from the start that Hogan would win it because it's Mania main event. Hogan's coming out last, so that was a dead giveaway. And
Ventura even commented on that. Ventura even was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, and I just feel like it makes more sense logically if it wasn't Hogan that Macho Man should win this match because there's more story there if Macho Man wins.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's feuding with Beefcake.
Yeah.
How many times have we said that about anyone who faces Hogan?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I agree this was the best match on the card, but that's not really saying much, honestly. Well, that was WrestleMania. Any comments on Prime Time? I know you didn't watch his. I guess the biggest thing was that Macho Man kicked Elizabeth aside and now has Sherry as his manager.
Bro, of the final 3 or 4 prime times of this month, I literally only have 4 things written for all.
I don't have a lot either.
I have the Savage and Sherry becoming a thing, like an actual thing. Like Sherry is now managing Savage, and they're gonna feud with Beefcake from the Brother Love segment.
And they cut his hair, which was great.
Yeah, he got his. They showed more of Martel's heel turn. He's still not full blown the model, but he is giving heel promos now. And then my favorite moment of the month for WWF, Lanny Poffo stepping in as the genius. Oh, the poems he reads, bro, as he delivers those promos, he rhymes those words so good.
Is that Savage's brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's about to manage Mr. Perfect in the near future, because that's like his thing. But yeah, he's giving his solo promos at this time with his rhyming words, and he is the smartest man in all of wrestling. So that was a good moment of the month for me.
Yeah, I marked that just for you because I know you had been talking about the genius the last couple of podcasts.
I've been talking. You don't know. I've been talking about the genius for the past 2 months. I'm like, the genius is coming. The genius is coming. So big step up from Leaping Lanny Poffo.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd look forward to Sensational Sherry and Savage getting together. That's for sure. Look forward to more of that.
Yeah, they fit because Macho Man's character. I've been praising Macho Man as a heel. I like him as his paranoid, jealous self. Even though if you would have watched the storyline, Tiz, I know you watch soap operas like me.
Yeah.
So you would have enjoyed Macho Man's point of view when Hogan had his hand on Miss Elizabeth's ass. I think you would have enjoyed that part of the storyline.
Well, the thing I like about that story is that it's true to real life. It's closer to Savage in real life. You know, everyone used to say that he's like really paranoid, and it's just, you know, he gets to be himself really. So
he got to constantly tell Hogan about the lust. You're lusting, Hogan. You're lusting. Who's the real good guy? That's my girl, and you're lusting over her.
And Ventura kept playing off that as well during Mania. Lust Hogan.
Yeah, that about sums it up. My other notes were on Heenan, because Heenan's always hilarious on his prime times. When they have those sisters come in, I mean, some jokes that wouldn't go over with now, but they were some pretty funny fat jokes.
He was letting them have it. Like, he was letting them have it.
He was.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, the brain carries that show. He carries prime time every week. There's not much else to say about that. Like I'm almost getting tired of him having to do all the heavy lifting. That man needs some back surgery by this point.
Well, what was your guys' rating for the WWF? I'm interested to see Tiz. I feel like it's going to be low as hell.
1 second. I closed my book. 1 second. I have to take a quick average, but yeah, it's definitely going to be lower than.
Well, I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Mine, I gave it a 6.8. Definitely my lowest for the WWF so far, by far. WrestleMania was a total dud, big fail. Probably could have been lower, but I guess I'm being nice.
See, and I felt like I was being nice, and I didn't drop them quite as much as you. I actually put them at a 7.2. And I could have easily gone lower. I just felt like I didn't want to drop them more than a full point in a month. So I was like, I'll give them kind of a chance. But yeah, I could have dropped them straight to like a 6 with what they gave me this month.
Yeah, I agree. I almost did the same.
Yeah, you're right. Mine is low. It's if I'm averaging out in my head, it's 5, and it's really only the main event and Brainbusters versus Rick Martel, Tito Santana that did it for me, and that's really with the gift of, like you said, nostalgia, because Rick Martel was a big influence in that. So yeah, not a good Mania for me.
It wasn't, and WWF plummets to an average of a 6.3. WCW gets his first win in this little podcast.
I didn't think it would happen this soon. I
didn't either. We were talking about how WCW was going to get their asses kicked this month, and they just had the little sleeper when they dropped the hand, and now it heads it up. It's fighting back.
Yeah, because these are rough years for WCW, right? Like they're in turnarounds, waiting for Turner to come up with ideas for the show, and that doesn't really come until like the mid
Nitro. So the Nitro era, which is still years away.
Yeah, but I feel like Jim Ross has it together right now, at least to start his booking.
I love well, you guys talking about the booking, but I just love the commentary team with JR and Hayes is much better for me than anything WWF puts together.
Well, to finish, let's go over our little top 3 things. We'll go ahead and start with tag teams. This is always one of the hardest ones for me because you never know who to put up here. But we'll go over number 3s first. I put your favorite tag team name, Eddie Gilbert and Rick Steiner, number 3, only because, I mean, they were one of the most pushed tag teams of the month, really.
Couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I felt like I gave it to them last month because they won the titles, but now that they actually have a tag team first name, they're not going anywhere near my list. My number 3 is a little more generic. I just have it listed as the Varsity Club. They have a lot of mixtures they do with their teams, kind of like a free bird system where you don't know which 2 you're going to get match to match. But I just had to put them at 3.
Same here. I put Varsity Club. I know it's a bit of a cop out, but I mean they're just a good unit. They make you want to look at tag team wrestling. So,
and they just won the titles, even though it wasn't featured. They actually just beat the Legion of Doom for the titles, which is no small feat.
Well, I don't think you'll never see the Varsity Club in my top 3. Sorry. I can't stand their promos alone. Number 2, I had the Samoan SWAT team. They probably could have been number 1, but I like a tag team more.
I have the Brainbusters sitting at 2.
Same here. I'm agreeing with Frank again. It's Brainbusters for me, even though I don't like the name.
Now I'm with you on that part too, man. You take 2 legends, like give them a better name.
Yeah,
I swapped that. I had the Brainbusters number 1. They were number 1 last month for me too. So that's why.
And I took your number 2 and have them at number 1. I think the Samoan SWAT team's been getting so much hype, and they had the best tag team match of the month for me with the Midnight Express. So I just feel like they're being featured a ton. They're seemingly unstoppable. So I put them at number 1.
and again, same for me. I was always shaky on putting a top 3 together, but I had no doubt who number 1 was for me. It was Samoan SWAT team because I liked them on WCW, like the tape show against Bryan and Aldridge, I think it was, where like even though it was a fast match, it's not a squash match, but like they even make that look good because they always make sure to work together. And then going into Clash, they had a great match as well. So yeah,
phenomenal point, because I didn't even think about that. But their squash matches are more entertaining than most squash matches. Which phew.
We'll go into matches next. I think we all have the same number. Well, actually, never mind. I forgot that I did this. My number 3 was Macho Man and Hogan. Couldn't quite give him number 2.
My number 3 was a Samoan SWAT team in the Midnight Express.
Mine is tied between Samoan SWAT team, Midnight Express, and Sting Rotunda.
Dude, we're on the same page.
I know you guys are right on the same page.
That's exactly who I was battling with for that 3rd spot. I was like, I did like that match.
Yeah, that was actually my number 2. Sting and Rotunda was number 2 for me.
See, and I went Hogan and Savage at 2.
Again, me too.
I assume we all have the same number 1, Flair and Steamboat. That was a given.
Yeah.
At least the people watching the show, when they see this part, they're going to be like, okay, we can go to these matches because we're all on the same. Like, all right, this has got to be where the action's at.
Yeah, the matches are always the easiest one for me. It's tag teams and feuds that are hard.
Oh, the feud category hurt my soul this month.
I don't know what that means. We'll start with number 3s. What did you put at number 3, Vanka?
For feuds,
yeah.
This is the part that hurt my soul, was this number 3, because I was really racking my brain to figure out a number 3. The only thing I could come up with was the geriatric convention, as I call them, Murdoch and Orton.
Wow, I am shocked. I mean, I actually have Flair and Steamboat at number 3. As great as their match was, the feud is actually like redundant, I guess would be a word for it.
I didn't see nearly enough of this month to really my feuds to mean anything. But looking through my notes, I'm thinking. No, I really don't. I have no
There's
idea.
not a
I know
ton
who
of-
I know who the top two are, but number three,
It's tough.
yeah.
I mean, my number one isn't. I don't even know if it's still a feud, but we'll go on to number two. So, what was your number two, Tiz?
My number two was Varsity Club versus Everyone. Again, that's a bit of a cop out, but I do like the way they make matches more interesting by coming to ringside, and then they've got like the whole just like there's so much potential there for it to go in so many directions that I like what they bring to it.
And they do have feuds with everybody, it feels
They
like.
do.
They
yeah.
really do have like minor feuds with everybody. I went with Luger and Hayes at 2, even though we
Me
didn't get to
too.
see a lot of it. I just feel like Michael Hayes kind of even carried that feud solely on the mic through
He
his
did.
commentary. But it's the closest thing we had to a feud this month because I think what you have is number one, Nick. I left off because I feel like that feud's done. So it was really tough to even find feuds this month.
Well, my number one was Hogan and Savage, even though Savage is kind of moving. I mean, it's all going to be intertwined. I know this because of some of the matches coming up, because of the movie. But yeah, Hogan and Savage at number one for me, only because it did still continue after WrestleMania because we had Sherry hitting Hogan with the chair.
For me, it's Hogan and Savage as well, just because it was the one that stood out the most. And like you said, I love soap operas, so I love a good angle where like a man's getting defensive of another man's woman, and just like that kind of like sibling rivalry that they tried to bring into it. So it felt like they had, of all the feuds this month, they had the most legit reason to be beefing compared to everyone else.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I left them off because I just felt like we didn't see the feud after Mania. Like it was like it fell off the face of the earth. So I wasn't sure if they were done with it. I kind of knew they're not. But my number one was Steamboat and Flair. It still feels like WCW is revolving the entire company around that feud for the most part right now, and that seems to they constantly have promos. Ric Flair gave multiple promos on some of these shows, and they're all good because he's Ric Flair.
Well, my superstars, even though I like WCW, all my superstars are from WWF this month.
I'm the opposite.
You went all
They're all from
WCW.
WWF.
I have all three. I have all three from WCW.
Yeah, I guess nobody as a persona really just stood out enough to me in WCW. But my number three, even though I had him at number one in January, he had a match this time, so it counts. Bobby Heenan was at number three for me.
Okay.
All right. Full disclosure, he's number one every month.
Yeah, he really is. Nobody's more entertaining than him.
I know our foreign heel's not gonna love this one for me, but my number three superstar of the month is the Great Muta. I feel like he's getting hyped up there. He's getting a ton of airtime. They're building him up as in that Goldberg unbeatable fashion. So I had to include him here.
I'm gonna go a bit left of field. This one's more nostalgia than anything to single him out because he's in a tag team, but I'm gonna go with Fatu because I love seeing him when he's young. I love seeing him later on as Rikishi, but I love seeing him when he's young and like mobile and getting around. So that was my number three.
My number two was Rick Rude. And this just goes along with Heenan, because on these primetime, Heenan is always talking about how Rude's not going to defend it. It's going to be up to Heenan who Rude defends the title again. So I just like that Rude had this huge build. He beats Wire, and now he's just the chicken shit hill. This all works for me.
With the best tights in the business.
Yes.
Yes.
My number two, have Sting. He won his first title. Just the beginning of a beautiful career.
Yeah, if anybody on WCW would have made mine, it would have probably been him.
I'm gonna agree with Nick this time. Rick Rude for me because I think he's just. I mean, he has the was it the no he's not the body, that's Martel, but he has the body. You know, like he's got the look, he's got the tights. I love the tights, and he just won the title, surprised everyone by winning the IC title. So it's his month.
It was. He's had a great build, the best build we've seen so far. My number one is Hogan. It just had to be Hogan. I mean, as much as we shit on him, he's Hogan.
I was so mad at hulking out. I couldn't. I felt bad. I had him at number one last month. And here he comes out and beats Savage. Doesn't make my list. Obviously, I have Steamboat at number one. I mean, he just beat Ric Flair twice. And even though I'm not a super big fan of his promo work a lot of the time, the All-American Family guy, I still think it tells the story of, they're still doing the Playboy Family Man. And so Steamboat had a hell of a lot of success this month. So for me, I put him at number one. But, all of these, this was a close month for me. It could have gone either way because I had Rick Rude at number two last month. So, I mean, this month for me was just real hard to call.
There was a lot more to choose from this month, too, so that made it harder compared to last month.
Yeah, I had the same as Fan Guy. Number one was always going to be Steamboat after I saw that main event. Because, I mean, maybe I'm being a mark, but I always judge it off like appearance first and foremost. Like, do you look the part to be the superstar of the moment right now? And Steamboat was in great shape that whole match. So was Flair, but Steamboat like really looked like he was worthy of like carrying the promotion, and he retained the title, so he's got the momentum. And he was my number one. I know it seems like we're dissing Hogan by me leaving him off the list, but I already gave him praise before for the best promo of the month. So that's trying to balance it out that way. But again, like Van Guy said, just showing up the Mania and helping WWF sell tickets and merchandise is not good enough for me. You need more than that.
I think that was his only match
total
this month.
360.
It was. He doesn't
There you go.
wrestle very often.
Yeah, but I don't blame him for that. I mean, that's the job by now. Like he's a victim of his own success.
That's true.
I couldn't put him on my list. Yeah.
Well, that is all for April. We have a first win for WCW. They get the points. They might have a comeback this year. I think it's possible because I don't know if I'm going to enjoy the main event picture of WWF coming up. Like Hogan versus who? Why do I care? I know Zeus is coming, but I don't want to really watch Zeus.
I can't even think of who they have that's a credible.
They don't. Hogan beat the Twin Towers by himself, basically, at the Saturday Night Main Event. So,
Yeah.
There's something anticlimactic when you just know a guy's never going to lose. Like it does. It takes some of the spark off it because you're like, oh, Hogan is going to Hulk out and take somebody's finisher and act like it didn't hurt him. Then he's going to drop his leg on him and win the match. Like, come on, man.
So we try to get excited about the IC division. Maybe Rick Rude's gonna have a few things to do there. I don't know. I don't know what's coming up.
I don't either, honestly. I'm sure to go back to Warrior at some point, but I don't know when.
I know Warrior has it next April.
Well, yeah.
Warrior will have it next April.
Figured. Okay.
Because next April is going to be the Hogan Warrior showdown at Mania 6. IC belt versus world title.
Yeah.
Only reason I know Warrior is going to have it back. Yeah. I think him and Rude have a little bit of an extended program coming up.
I think so too. Well, another month in the book. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Thanks for joining us so late, Tiz. You Ford Hill.
Dedication to the cause. 1:30 in the morning. I'm gonna get some sleep now.
All right. I will see you guys next week, hopefully.